everyone, and welcome to the Doom Productions podcast, a podcast hosted by Doom Productions. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Ethan.
And this is our podcast where we get together every week, hang out, and we chat all things movies. We talk about what we've seen, what we've been watching, a little bit about our experience about being filmmakers, and, all things filmmaking, both, making movies and watching movies, and the questions that come out of this. So, I guess our question for today, the topic for today came in from a well-beloved viewer, a longtime fan of ours. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you probably know who it is. His name is Thomas S.
Thomas is the man.
He is the man, and it was a while. He's been busy. He moved. He got a job at Weta.
Yeah, like, what the heck? What are you doing listening to this podcast?
Yeah, don't you work for Peter Jackson now? Or Richard Taylor? Thomas, you gotta,
Step it up, man.
Yeah, well, I mean...
just kidding.
You gotta talk to them or something, or, you gotta infiltrate them for us.
Yeah.
And then, give us all the juicy details.
Thomas. When are you going to show our movies to Peter Jackson?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah. Which is kind of, when you think about Peter Jackson, I think we think Lord of the Rings and King Kong, but bad taste.
Yeah.
That is, I could totally see, if Peter Jackson was a kid today, him making that and then throwing it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
With, he would be that kid messing around with Blender and being like, here's some cool alien shots that I made. I'm going to fight them and in my backyard, and then,
It has that, it feels like a version of what Freddie Wong did in early YouTube.
Yeah.
It has that same feel to me. I don't know.
It does. And it was just him and his 5 friends or something that made it. And there's some crazy model work and effects in Bad Taste.
If you the behind the scenes of Bad Taste is incredible.
It's awesome.
So worth watching.
Anyways, Thomas is working for Weta, and first off, we're proud of you. That's awesome.
Good job.
That's really cool. At some point, we should just have you on the podcast, and we'll have a long chat about just everything.
Yeah.
You can ask us all these questions. We'll ask you a bunch of questions.
It's going to be a 12-hour podcast.
But yeah, shout out to Travis. Or not
Thomas.
Thomas. Oh my gosh, what was it I said? We know another Travis.
Y'all know Papa Hobbs.
Shout out to Papa Hobbs as well. But shout out to Thomas S. for his support and viewership and the new job and the move. I'm assuming he moved to New Zealand then.
I don't know. I feel like Weta might have other...
an office in California,
I don't know. I would assume so. They're big enough they could do that.
Yeah. Comment down below. And if you are a viewer, and look for Thomas's comment and go subscribe to him, because he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Cool guy. Anyways, he sent us in this question, which now I have to scroll.
I got it right here.
To find... yes, you might as well read.
Okay, cool. So the question Thomas sent us is, and I quote, "How do you know an idea is worth pursuing and not just you getting excited rashly early on in the planning process?"
This is a really important question.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons that you and we don't like to share. We don't like to talk about what we're working on.
Yeah.
Because...
especially early on.
Oh, yeah. I think maybe other people don't know this, but we flip between projects so much.
Yeah. We love jumping ship.
Yeah. Well, I don't love it, but it's just something that happens.
It's a habit. No, just kidding.
I guess how do you know ideas worth pursuing and not just getting excited early on?
Yeah.
That happened a few times last year.
Yeah.
I think before Video Carnage, or maybe it was during Video Carnage, there's 2 other films that I almost made. And there was another movie which had a complicated thing going on, and different versions of it kind of went back and forth so much, but I'm not sure how many people knew that on our channel necessarily.
Yeah.
Because all they knew was Bell Rings and Video Carnage and whatever.
The things that were happening is what we kind of talked about, and
because we have a habit of getting excited about an idea and then for one reason or another, it doesn't go through. I think we're pretty good at stopping things in the pre-production phase. Like, as far as I usually go, I'll usually write a first draft of a script at the very... Well, yeah. If I have a really good idea and I'm excited about it, I will usually, at the very least, write a first draft of the script. And sometimes I'll go as far as writing, 3 or 4 drafts of the script, as well as doing, like, the script breakdown. But it's usually around there where if I've realized, oh, this is not the film for me, that's usually where it gets, left behind or dropped or whatever. What's your habit when you, how far do you usually take an idea?
Yeah.
What's the most that you'll take it at the very least?
Yeah.
And then when do you drop it? If that's the case.
Well, I think it's always so hard to know for certain. Like, I don't get an idea and think, oh no, I'm just thinking about this. Like, I'm letting this idea get ahead of itself. Usually I'm down to run with an idea that takes me, and I'll run with it until it runs out of gas. So that's kind of how I look at it. So if I got an idea for a movie about aliens, I don't think, like, I'll just take that story as far as I can. Like, usually my process starts with, like, okay, like one single image or beat happens in my head in like a scene, and I'll just start extrapolating out to, okay, what's the tone, what's happening in this scene, who's there, who are the characters, why are the characters here, and it kind of just builds out until a movie kind of starts to form, at least in broad plot sense. And then from there I'll write out, and I'll go into like an outline, and then like a scriptment, and then a full-on script. So that's kind of the arc that I'll take an idea through. And then once a script is made, usually by that point, if I'm willing to finish drafts of a script, I'm usually pretty invested at that point. But at any point in that journey, I can just lose interest. There's no like consistent point. It's just like, because I have loads of documents in my Google Drive of just idea folders, and most of them nothing ever happens with. Some of them I'm like, it's fun to look back on and remember old ideas, but even looking back on them, usually I'm like, oh yeah, I'm never making that, or like I just don't have the interest in it. So it's different for everyone, but I think that's a fun thing to get excited about your idea early on, even if it's something you're never going to make. I enjoy that initial like burst of, ooh, what's this going to become? Like, I don't know.
How do you know?
How do I know when to drop it though?
How do you know when it's, what is, I mean, the question is, how do you know if the idea is worth pursuing or not? You just not getting excited early. I think for me anyways, I usually take it at least a draft or two before I know. How I know, it's different for each one, but how is it for you?
Well, usually it's a lot of stuff like, just, are the pieces falling in line? Like, is it worth the headache and like giving up the next several months of my life towards this idea? And there are some movies that are like, oh yeah, like even at the worst this could get, the normal worst, not the absolute worst, like I like, if I can see like, okay, yeah, I know my actors that I could get for this, and I know that they'd be available, and I know that I can get the locations I need. Like, if all of that stuff is falling in place, I'm gonna keep going until either something falls out right before and things collapse, or I finish a movie. But if at any point there's like major resistance on a couple of, not just one of those things, but if it's like probably at least a couple big things that are really, really giving me problems, then I'm either going to shelve it for another time and just let that be in the back pocket, or eventually it's just going to become like a thing that never got made. And and sometimes that's harder on some projects than others. Some things, you're like, oh, it doesn't hurt me to see this not get made. But there are always going to be projects that it's like, oh man, yeah, I just need to wait a little bit, and hopefully like the pieces fall together next year. And again, it depends from each project. It's always a varying reason for why it would fall apart.
It feels like a feeling more than anything. I think that you get a feeling. I was working on a project And I swear, I was like, this is going to happen. This is going to be the next thing I make. And at some point, writing draft 3 or 4, I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling this. Like, maybe this isn't the next one I make. Like, this isn't speaking to me creatively like it did a few months ago. And it was literally just that feeling. I started thinking about it. I started thinking about, okay, is that just a fleeting feeling? Is that me not wanting to do the work? Is that the project really not speaking to me? Or did a better idea come along? Because you can do when a project isn't speaking to you creatively, I feel like you can do one of two things. One thing you can do is you change it to cater to what you're interested in. So say you're making a story about a guy who dresses up as a bat and he goes out and fights crime.
We'll call it Man Bat.
Man Bat. If the initial idea, and you've been writing a few drafts of this, is like it's a comedy and it's like a goofy kind of movie, and all of a sudden you're working on it and you're like, oh, you know, I'm not into this anymore. Like whatever reason, you hit a wall and all of a sudden it's just, I really don't care about this. This is not speaking to me. If that's the case, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I really want to direct a horror movie, that's like, okay, change it to be a horror movie now. You can totally revamp the project and kind of salvage it if that's the case. That is not always the best thing for the movie, because sometimes that initial idea you can only change it so much before it becomes something completely different.
Yeah.
Like if using an example from one of our movies, like if someone said Video Carnage was like, I mean, the idea for the movie is what you saw on the screen. So picture that it's somewhere in the process I was like, you know, this isn't really working for me. I might just get too excited. Maybe it'd be better as a comedy. Like, I don't think Video Carnage would.
No.
I mean, I'm sure a version of it could work as a comedy, but I don't think that would be best for the movie necessarily, if that makes sense.
Video Carnage starring Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler.
Well...
That'd be a pretty rad movie. I'd watch that.
Will Ferrell as the killer.
Oh, man, that would be so cool.
As the killer, and not a comedy. Like him just playing the killer.
That would be really
just
cool.
Straight up.
That would be a really
Couldn't
cool
he play
movie.
a great serial killer or psychopath?
He absolutely could.
I think he'd do a great job, actually.
Someone get Will Ferrell on the line.
We're remaking one of our movies now. Yeah, so there. I mean, you can when you lose interest or excitement in a project, you can change it to be more exciting, or you can just move on to something else.
Yeah.
It's hard to say when an idea is when it is kind of you just getting excited early. I think that's a key part of his question is getting excited early. It's like you said, I'm excited about every project.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah. Is this real? Is this love, or is it something else?
Yeah.
I'll pose a question though. What if you run out of your excitement midway through filming? Like cameras have rolled for, let's say, at least a couple of shooting days.
That's every project. That's not how it normally is.
I mean, like, beyond, like, it's like if I show up on another day of set. Okay, maybe that's too extreme. I should have to take that one, but you know, like beyond the normal, beyond the like, I just need to push through this. Like, what if you're
like
feeling that,
sucks.
like, and beyond, and because sometimes that this sucks comes and goes when we're on set. There are better days and worse days. Like if it's like maybe you had one day of like good filming, that every day after for like 3 days has just been like, I never want to make a movie.
I can't honestly say I've had an experience where I'm making a movie and at somewhere in the process I'm like, this is not worth pursuing.
Yeah.
I think, kind of like you said, in the back of your head, you're like, that idea is like, okay, I have this idea for a movie that is worth all of the pain and misery and suffering that's going to come along with making it.
I've dropped some movies mid-production.
Oh, so you, well, that's talk on that then.
Yeah. So anyone who's familiar with the production of House has heard this story before, so I'm not going to bore you with it too much. But for anyone who knows about my feature film House, or doesn't know about my feature film house. I attempted to shoot 2 other movies before it, both of which I burned out on at different levels. The first one I tried to shoot, I shot in like early summer, like probably June into July a little bit. And I burned out. I got about 22 minutes of the movie shot. So it was over like a couple of days. And I was trying really hard on this movie, but I burned out on it. And it came down to I was improvising. I was writing the movie as I went. So I didn't have like a finished script to look at as I was going. So I crashed pretty hard just on like I was excited by this idea. I wanted to shoot it as fast as I could, but I wanted a script with me. And so I was trying to write and shoot at the same time. And that was just not the right way to do that movie. So then I decided I'm not going to shoot this movie right now just because I literally didn't know where to take it. So that's one experience. And the next time was something similar. A couple months later, trying to shoot another movie. Didn't know where to take it. I was improvising it though. Like I was like, screw it. I'm just ignoring the script. But then finally I caved and I had like 2 nights left to shoot something. And so I changed ideas one more time. I ended up shooting House, my feature film that's on the channel if you want to watch it. Yeah, and I don't know what made House more fun than the others. I think it was just like it moved from like trying to do something specific to just letting myself play. But that's neither here nor there. If you want to know more about it, watch the behind the scenes. But what made me give up on those ideas though was just the fact that like, again, I feel like I didn't spend enough time with them to let myself know that I was going to run out on those ideas. Like I was going to burn out on them before. Yeah. Like if I had written a script for either one, I would have known. But because I just jumped in and decided to just make these without a plan, without knowing, without spending as much time as I should have with those ideas, that's what got me in trouble with them. Yeah. And it made it not work out.
I just realized a really short answer to Thomas's questions. How do you know an idea is worth pursuing? First and foremost, for us, can we film it? Yeah. Is it filmable? Kind of like you said earlier, do I have the actors I need? Can I get the props I need? Technically, am I able to achieve this? Do I have the time to do this? All those kind of questions. Do I have the money for this if I'm going to spend, a little bit of money on, props or food or whatever? I think that's first and foremost, that's the first thing I ask myself. Because there's projects that I've been writing for a while or been thinking about or brainstorming or planning or whatever that I know I can't film right now. I know that one day I might be able to film them. There's other projects I'm working on where I know I'm probably never going to be able to film them. I just want it written down so it can live somewhere in some form. And I think every idea that excites you, to an extent, is worth pursuing if it speaks to something in you and you care deeply and passionately about. Especially ideas that keep coming up. Yeah. Because I'm sure you've had movies where you're like, okay, every few months I think about this, or every couple years I think about this. That speaks to your subconscious somehow. Oh, yeah. I don't understand it, but it speaks to you some way. Yeah. It's important. It should be worth pursuing at the very least. Now, when it comes to actively pursuing, that might be different because I don't actively pursue those projects necessarily. The ones that I'm like kind of daydreaming of, that keep coming up, that I really love to do. I don't actively pursue those as much as the ones that are logistical. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a difference. And that's kind of where I want to shift maybe a little bit in the future, is taking more time, not doing projects that are purely just logistical, but doing projects that I am really passionate and really speak to me personally, and spending more time on those rather than just, okay, what can we do now? Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, that's great. I think that's a great way to line it up or to think about it. And like, yeah, no, I that's very well said. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have a thing to say after that. I lost it. The idea I had was not worth pursuing.
Yes. But how do you know an idea is worth pursuing or not? It's really a feeling. Yeah. But first and foremost, I mean, it's a logistical thing, I think, at our level. Because, I mean, you can make a version of every kind of movie out there, but the version that deserves, well, not every, certain versions deserve a little more time and care than others, if that makes sense. Like, I'm sure, like, if we wanted to make a sci-fi epic, is that idea worth pursuing? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But can we do it right now? No, so we're not actively pursuing it.
Yeah.
Actively pursuing means, working on the script every single day, storyboarding, blah, 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 all that stuff. It's kind of like, I consider it like that's on the back burner mentally for me. Because the way I do it is like there's projects I'm actively working on or pursuing, which is like, what I'm doing. I work on those every single day. If I finish my tasks for the day and I have more juice left in the tank, then I will work on those back burner projects in my own spare time. But really, I suppose it depends on the person too, because I'm sure, like, similar to you, I'm sure there's people who, like, all get almost done filming a movie, and they're like, "Oh no, this is no good," so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's our answer.
Yeah. If you don't finish your film, I think that's okay. You don't have to show anyone your bad film if you're unhappy with it. I think there's something good about finishing it, though, if you get that far in. Like, there's one of the movies that I shot, or that I tried shooting, I want to revisit. I want to try it again. I think that there was something there that was worth pursuing. I just didn't give it the time it needed. So I think it's nice to, like, even if a movie's bad, shoot your movie. As long as it's not going to be, like, put you in financial ruin to do it. If the only thing that's going to ruin you is, like, a little bit of the time invested, that's probably a little bit better. But
on that line, on that idea, you know how Kevin Smith famously maxed out all his credit cards and was like $90,000 in debt or something like that?
Horrible plan.
He made it, and he's, doing very well as a director in Hollywood and whatnot. I'm sure that after reading that, there was a wave of filmmakers around the world who were like, oh, that's how I should make my movie. And they did it, and nothing ever happened to them, and they're still in debt. I would love to talk to someone who did go into massive debt to make their movie, thought it was going to be their big break, and it wasn't. And, that's a perspective I really want to talk about. If you heard a scream, apologize. My sister's a theater kid, and she's got her friends over, and they're all theater kids.
Actors.
Theater kids are just built different. It's
really do
no
be
offense,
like
but like it's just fact. They have certain personalities. Usually, shouldn't generalize, but I will. I know.
Gee, Jordan bring out his beef with theater kids.
Yeah, but I hope that answers your question, Thomas.
Yeah.
I hope. And he sent another question, which I guess is more or less, it's on the same thing, but he says, how do you know when you should give up on an idea or project? I can't remember if we've talked about this one before. We've talked about projects failing.
Things have come up that derive from this, but, it's here and there. Like, it's not like, other than the project failing one.
It's a similar conversation, and I think that one is also, it's similar in answer, but it's also a little bit different, because giving up on a project, I think, is different than getting excited early on in the planning process. Giving up is like, when I hear the word giving up, I think I'm working on this, and then it's like, then the next day I'm not working on this. I've given up. I think in general, kind of like you said, it's always important to finish something just because of the discipline. Because at the very least, it's kind of like exercising. Some days you want to go out and you want to run 10 miles. Other days you're not going to be motivated. But if you stop at mile 5, you're not going to get stronger or faster from that by stopping. Doesn't matter if it's, it's just important that you finish it and complete it, because it keeps those muscles in check, keeps those muscles growing and all that.
If you want to get to mile 10, but you keep stopping at mile 5, you're always only going to make it to mile 5.
Yeah. You have to always, And again, like, I guess if making a movie is a marathon, how long are marathons usually?
It's like 26 miles, right?
26 miles.
Yeah.
So if you're running a marathon, again, I guess doing that halfway point, if you're running a marathon, and it's important that you just finish it. You get to 23 or 20 miles. It's because it would suck to stop at run a marathon, get to 10 miles, and then just stop, and then like, okay, I'll do it next time.
Yeah.
And then you get to the next marathon, and you only get to mile 10.
Or mile like 9 or yeah. No.
You have, for the discipline of you have to have a good work ethic. And that's not saying that filmmaking should be all about work and discipline every single time, because it is art and you should have fun doing it. But you have to, if you want to take your work seriously, if you want to become a better filmmaker, you should practice those muscles. You should be making stuff all the time, even if it's like going outside and shooting a shot every day, or writing a page every single day, or whatever you do. You should be exercising those muscles. And so that's why I think when I hear giving up, I think that I'm looping it back to the question.
Yeah.
When I hear giving up, I think, oh, something seriously is wrong to leave that discipline. Like to forego, like to take your own, this sounds bad, but to take your mental health or your physical health into consideration over the discipline of your project. So, I mean, first, I think it's that exactly. I mean, how much is it impacting your mental or physical health?
Yeah.
Like, how much is that impacting you?
Yeah.
Like, if
that's the project where you find out you have to go $90,000 into debt to get it finished.
Yeah.
It ain't worth it.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. If you have to spend that much money. But that's another thing too, because what if, like, you're working on a project, you're like, oh, I just need this thing, I need that thing, you're using your credit card or whatever. Next thing you know, you're out like 10 grand, and you're like, by that point, I feel like you kind of have to finish it. You'd be ashamed to spend that much money into something that never happens.
It's true.
Giving up, I think, it has to be something serious.
Yeah.
And maybe saying, even if the project isn't speaking to you creatively, again, it's always better to finish it at some stage.
Yeah.
If you're working on draft 1 and it's not speaking to you, finish draft 1. If you are storyboarding and it's not speaking to you, just finish all the storyboards and then put it aside.
Yeah.
If you're shooting the movie, shoot the damn movie, but then don't worry about editing it. Worry about that later. Just be like, I shot a feature film, it's all there, and just put it aside. Same thing with editing. If you're editing a movie and you're like, this isn't speaking to me, edit a cut of that movie and then put it aside.
Yeah.
I always think it's...
And save those files. Do not lose the edit file.
Save it. I think that's if you're going to give up. I guess that's how you give up. But how do you know when to give up? Mental health, if it's being a detriment to your...
Because there's always parts that are going to feel, like you were saying, like there's always parts that are going to be grating, always parts that are going to suck. You're going to wake up some mornings and be like, I would rather do anything else other than edit this movie for a couple hours. Like, it's the worst. Been there so many times. It's never fun. Like, but again, like, those are the days where it's like, fine, I'm going to edit one scene. I don't care what the scene is. Doesn't matter the length. It can be a short one or a long one. But if I sit down and edit one scene, I know that, okay, if I still feel terrible, then at least I did one scene. But more often than not, if I make myself sit down and edit one scene, it's that much easier for me to be like, I'll just do one more. And then I'll do one more. And then I'll do one more. And either the day's done after that, or something else comes up, or I'll do a whole bunch. But being able to just sit down and do it is going to make it easier. And again, it comes back down to discipline.
I've been storyboarding for my next feature, and that movie has 383 scenes. That's
my goodness.
It's a lot of storyboards, let me tell you.
Oh man, that's so many scenes.
And I wanted it to be done within a month. The story was to be done within a month. So I rather than do my usual spurts where it's like, okay, I'll just storyboard when I feel like it and I have the time, kind of like, which is usually the weekends or I guess Wednesdays, Thursdays, Mondays.
Yeah.
Those are usually solid days, like in the weekends. Rather than just storyboard on those days, I kind of sat down, did the math, and go, okay, I need to do at least 9 scenes a day to hit my end date. And that's what I've been doing. And you know, it made it that much easier to, like, for certain days, I've storyboard 30 scenes in a day. Other days, I only get 9, but hey, at least I did 9.
Yeah.
And some great advice I heard once was, if you're feeling kind of bad, mentally, I guess, or not feeling great emotionally, if the cause of that emotion is your project, you should probably work on the project. If the cause of that is something else, take a break from the project.
Yeah.
But in that same line, if that emotion is so big and it's coming from your project, there is a burnout point that you should take into consideration. You know what that is individually. I can't tell you how much you should go, because then otherwise you'll, like, I don't know, like,
Jordan told me.
because my threshold for that kind of stuff is different than other people's, and other people's are different than me, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
It's
We're different between each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what's best, but I think that's a good guideline, I guess. You know, give up on a project. I mean, how do you know? I mean, I know when, if it's either not doing anything creatively for me, or mentally or physically affecting me in a huge negative way. I mean, that's really it. I mean, I think you have more experience with that with your pre-house movies.
Yeah.
Because I've never done a project where I, like, film it and I'm like, you know what, this isn't working, I don't like this, I'm just gonna stop.
Yeah.
Because I've always, I mean, I'm trying to think of anything. I'm sure writing-wise, I know that's happened writing-wise, especially, you know, when I was learning how to screenwrite more. But video-wise, I don't know. It's a good question. I'm sure there's a lot of, I mean, different perspectives on it. But
And if you have a perspective on it, you should honestly comment that, because I think that'd be a really interesting discussion to continue on this channel. So if you had an experience with quitting a project or pushing through a project or having to find what your personal, like, line in the sand is for what you need in order to finish a project, like, leave a comment. I think that'd be a really interesting thing for different filmmakers to discuss and interact with, and I think it could be motivating for people who are struggling with that. And yeah, so I think that, yeah, leave a comment, please. I think we'd all appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a complicated.
It's a self-discovery thing. It really is. It is so personal.
It's not one size fits all. It depends on the person. Depends on what's going on in their life, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I think our general advice is, in general, don't, at least finish it to some extent. Or, you know, if your project comes in stages, finish the stage you're at, and then give up.
Shelve it, yeah.
Then shelve it. I think that's where I think that's what we would say.
Yeah.
In those things. Along those same lines, which I think there's a reason Thomas grouped these together. The next question he asked, Thomas sent in many questions. We're not going to cover all of them. We're covering some of them, but he writes, people change over time. Taste also changes, and current mood can affect your viewing. Similar to kind of what we're talking about. Some days something creatively speaks to you, other days it doesn't. Do you think that some movies you didn't like was due to mood you were in at the time of viewing? Should bad films be given a second chance?
I think he's asking this. This goes two ways. It feels like he's asking this about movies that you watch that aren't made by you.
Yes.
But this goes both ways, totally.
But I think there's...
And we're going to hijack it probably for the other way.
Yeah, we'll address both. But in terms of as a filmmaker...
Towards your own movies,
I
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've talked about this. I despise, I loathe. I've been so close to taking it down off her channel. I'm not being hyperbolic here. Genuinely, I hate Oh Brother.
Yeah.
Everything about that movie. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say everything.
I watched parts of it a couple days ago.
Oh,
actually.
you bastard! You bastard! You take those views back.
I was clicking around through it. I just wanted to see it.
I think what I did like was it gave me something to do early COVID, where
It set us on the filmmaking journey in a way.
It set us on the filmmaking journey. It gave me something to do. I learned a lot because I made a feature film. I appreciate that aspect, but the final product, it's just so boring. It's so like, it feels like...
Oh Brother fans are just crumbling right now.
You know, well, I can say this about my own movie. I will not call another filmmaker's film boring, but I can call my own movies boring. I retain that right.
That's true.
You know what it feels like? It feels like maybe... Okay, Norman Rockwell, right? Mm-hmm. We all know Norman Rockwell. Mm-hmm. He obviously loved that style that he did, when we think of Norman Rockwell painting. Yeah. That's his kind of thing. To me, it would be like one day Norman Rockwell paints like a Francis Bacon or Jackson Pollock painting. Yeah. And he paints it, and he's like... Because that was just how he felt during the day. Yeah. But then, he was like, I learned this thing, and this is kind of cool. I learned from the experience. He puts it away, then he pulls it out after a year, and he's like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, this seems like one of these things is not like the other. If you compare it to all of Norman Rockwell's other paintings, it stands out like a sore thumb. Mm-hmm. And so to me, I think that movie, that style, that everything about it, like the product or whatever, it stands out to me of like, I'm not interested in any of that stuff. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah. I guess to better explain myself for the billionth time. So, can your taste change or current mood change? I mean, I think that's proof right there. Yeah. I was feeling a very specific way during early COVID that for some reason
You just really hated your siblings back then.
I hated my siblings. I guess that was a project I felt very strongly about doing, and that's what happened.
Strong enough to finish it.
Strong enough to finish it, and
So
that's
takeaways from this are: if you're a fan of Oh Brother, you need to torrent that off of our YouTube channel quick before one day you log on and it's not there.
I'm not joking. No, I've genuinely been really close.
Because Jordan won't send out copies.
No, I wouldn't. You know what? Here's how far I've gone too. You archive everything you make, right? All the footage and everything.
Oh, you deleted all the footage?
So
you monster! What did you do to it?
The only thing that exists from Oh Brother in terms of my digital files is the master export.
Oh my goodness!
The 1080p export.
What did you do?
I needed the space for other projects, so I was like, I have all this Oh Brother footage, and so footage I didn't use, other just footage from the movie. I just deleted it in the library, the project files. I
still have all my house footage. I have all my footage from the movies I never finished.
If I had house, I would have saved it. But Oh Brother, I didn't need it. I didn't need that in my life.
I was going through House's files last night. Actually, I was going through old hard drive stuff, and I didn't realize it was only 15 scenes in that whole movie.
Is it really?
It's like 15 scenes.
I would say sequences. That might be a better word for it.
Sequences, yeah. Give or take. But yeah, it's like about 15.
There's some clear scenes in the movie, but I think a lot of it is also just sequences. Yeah. Like you in a bedroom. Yeah. You could probably technically say each shot of you in the bedroom is almost like its own scene.
Possible, yeah.
To a certain extent.
Oh yeah, especially some of the montage-ier stuff.
Here's the interesting, watch House, except every single time Ethan cuts, it's like there's a year in between.
That would be pretty crazy. Oh. That would be nuts. He's in there a long time.
Yeah.
I was rewatching it last night because I needed it. I hadn't watched House in a long time. I didn't watch all the way through, but I did click through it and start a scene and just let it go for a bit. Yeah, I forget what my own movie is like. Yeah. I kind of having not watched it for so long, like I think about it in a certain way. I'm like, oh yeah, that's House. That's that weird movie I made. And then I went back and rewatched it, and it's like, oh, okay, no, this is different than how I remember it.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it and I enjoy it. And today was cool because on Twitter someone made a fan art poster of House.
I saw. Yeah, Ben Paul.
I'm sorry,
I don't want to say Robinson.
Off the top of my head,
because that's Caleb.
Yeah, no, hold up.
He's got three names.
I can pull it up here. It's in my notification still. It's Ben Paul Robinson.
Oh, it is Robinson.
Yeah,
must be related to Caleb Robinson.
Yeah, no, he did a fantastic job on this poster. So it was cool that like kind of on a House throwback here.
Yeah,
of, like just revisiting an old project and seeing just what's all the commotion about over there.
Yeah,
what was going on in Ethan's mind back in 2020?
But there's also projects that we revisited. Well, for me, I feel similar about other films I've done where I look back and I watch it and I'm like, dang, that was cool.
Yeah,
dang, that was awesome.
What were some of those films for you?
For Few Mustaches More. I think that's one of the most perfect things I've ever made.
Yeah.
Flaws and all.
Yeah.
Because every movie has flaws. But so every now and then you'll make a movie where the qualities that you appreciate in it are so big that they overshadow the flaws.
Yeah.
For A Few Mustaches More is one of those projects for me.
Well, that and Hombres. Those were some of the most fun I think we've ever had making movies.
Yeah, I think so.
Those were just great projects all around. I think I'll look back on Righteous Hombres and A Few Mustaches More with just always like some of the best filmmaking memories I have. That and like My Father Was a Spaceman, like all of those.
Yeah. I need to rewatch that one soon.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
You should film it and do a reaction.
That'd be good. I mean, if you're watching us on YouTube, comment down below if you'd like to see some of that. We did a reaction video to our first films that we've ever made.
Yeah. And we've done some videos like old filmmaker hangouts like last year talking about some of our features or our shorts, I mean.
Reactions might be a better way to go though.
Yeah, maybe.
If you would be interested in seeing that, let us know in the comments down below.
Or if you'd be horribly against it, also let us know.
Yeah. Because that might be a better way to revisit our work rather than just us sitting down and talking about it.
And if you're indifferent, then that means if no one says anything, we're gonna do it anyways. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So let us know if you're absolutely against this idea.
I couldn't tell you how I feel about Spaceman, but I know for A Few Mustaches More for sure. That's one where I really love.
My mom brings up Spaceman all the time.
Oh yeah.
She loves that one.
People also Ready Set Smile. People bring that one up a lot. Mm-hmm. Lots of older people.
Yep. I remember at a film festival that I went to, the one out in I don't remember where, but you weren't
Milwaukee,
like something like that. But when that one played, I got a lot of people coming up to me at the end because I was the director that was there. So I was the one who was there for the Q&A and everything. So people were really into that one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. I know it's kind of recent. I really like the movie we just made with Raquel.
With Raquel?
Yeah. I've skimmed through on it a few times. Obviously, it's very fresh and it's not perfect again, but I really like it.
Yeah.
But I think the most similar thing I had, which isn't quite the same thing, was when we did Video Carnage. Obviously, I was kind of disappointed in some big aspects in the movie after making it. But when we sat down to do the commentary, the audio commentary, we watched it in VHS.
Yeah, we did.
And for whatever reason, I was like, this movie wasn't meant to be seen on YouTube. It was meant to be seen on VHS. And it kind of redeemed those negative qualities to an extent. I was like, oh my gosh, we're watching it on the wrong format.
We were wrong.
We need to see this in VHS. So
sometimes the filmmaker even makes a mistake there.
I know. Yeah. So I don't know. Well, maybe that's not the same thing as taste being changing, but I guess more of maybe current mood, maybe maybe the format, circumstance. Yeah, but I mean, mood and our emotions and brains can do crazy things to us.
And nostalgia, I think, is a big one that will take over a lot of filmmakers' movies and will change their opinions on it. Because you might feel like this is a Great American Sleepover. I'll bring that one up as a good example. That's a movie that on most aspects failed for what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's just not technically good. The story's weak in a lot of points. It's just a lot of things we were trying to do and we stretched ourselves, but nothing quite hit and was oh yeah, that's amazing. But I love looking back on that movie and just seeing where we were then as people and as filmmakers, not necessarily as the actual movie's characters. Like, I don't watch it to see my character's struggle or your character or any of the other.
It's like a home movie.
It's like watching a home movie of, like, again, like, I think the best, it's like how I imagine the kids in the movie Super 8 feel when they look back at their movies. Like, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's all nostalgia.
Yeah.
I don't care much for that movie as an actual movie. But
another one we've been dangerously close to pulling down.
Yeah, there's a couple. Further back you go, oh man, eight's mine that I'm always like, oh, should it be up? Should it really be up on the channel? But, you know, whatever.
I mean,
I just ignore it.
No
one's going back that far.
People have to know, like, what true beginners look.
Oh yeah.
Like, because I think you hear all these success stories about, you know, so and so's first movie was this movie. It was I can't think of any example.
Peter Jackson. Oh yeah, the guy who started out with Lord of the Rings,
Bad
right?
Taste.
No.
Well, Peter Jackson made. I mean, yes, he did. In terms of feature films, Lord of the Rings was not his first thing.
Yeah.
It was Bad Taste. But even Bad Taste was backed by years of playing with Super 8 video cameras and making short films with his friends.
Yeah.
So there's, I can't remember, what's the quote? Like, every film or great artist or musician, they have thousands of hours, or they have, you know, so many years of practice behind each, you know, performance, movie, piece, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And that's true. So that's why we leave it up. Oh Brother, though, was later into the career, so I think it's...
No excuse!
I think it puts it on the chopping block a little bit more. Sorry for the Oh Brother slander this episode. But again, I can't talk trash about other people's movies, so I'll talk trash about my own.
Yeah.
Not that I want to in other people's movies, but it's kind of like you have like 3 kids. Each one is more perfect than the last.
Yeah.
And then you get to old Bill, Billy Bob, who's just a mess in all areas of his life. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? Billy Bob, get your stuff together. Come on. He's just
why can't you just be normal?
Screams, yeah. That's Oh Brother.
Even though it's the most tame movie of all of ours.
That's true. It is pretty normal, isn't it?
Which is why we hate it. No.
To an extent, yeah.
By we, I mean you. I have no negative opinion towards Oh Brother. I see where you're coming from, but I have no stock in Oh Brother, so it doesn't really...
Yeah.
I enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Terrible taste, Ethan.
I know.
No, I'm joking.
I know.
Yeah. The question, anyways. What was the question? Oh, a taste changing in time, current mood. Yeah, I mean, we're not psychologists. We can't.
But that does happen.
But yeah, I mean, you talk about, you know, I mean, similar with taste buds. I mean, kids working at school. Do you know how much ketchup
oh my gosh.
kids use and what they put it on?
It's so much.
Waffles, tacos, burgers, broccoli.
I'm going to derail your discussion for 2 seconds. I had a kid last week cover his pizza complete, like you could not see it in sriracha.
I can kind of see that a little bit. It's better than ketchup.
Oh,
can we at least
better than ketchup.
Okay.
But I'm like, man, I'm worried for the bathroom later. That's going to come out aggressive.
Yeah. No, kids will do that with ketchup at my school.
Oh, man, kids do nasty stuff.
It's atrocious.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I don't like it. But when they grow up, they will grow out of it.
Hopefully not. They will hopefully grow out of it.
Yeah, they'll grow out of it.
There are some that don't.
Yeah, that's very true. But some, you know, emotions, you know, I mean, geez, it's a big topic. At a certain point, it's just talking about the human mind, and we're not. We know nothing.
We have no authority on that.
Prefrontal cortex, amygdala,
frontal lobe,
pineal gland. There.
That's the brain.
I can't remember what else.
Does that help your argument?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Well, I think, you know, we have some stuff to talk about in terms of our things we've seen. So I think we'll put a pin in this conversation for now.
If you want us to discuss it more, again, leave comments. Comments will keep the discussion going. We're happy to engage.
Yes, and Thomas sent out a lot of great questions, which we'll address those in coming weeks too. And if you have questions that you'd like us to cover in your podcast, go ahead.
Yeah.
But now we're moving on to the segment that we like to call What Are You Watching?
Mm-hmm.
What are you watching? So, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? It's been kind of a bit. I've surprisingly seen a lot more than I usually do. But
I got two movies under my belt, which is nice this week.
So, and before we go into that, last week was kind of brief in our What Do You Watch segment because we were with Mike.
Yeah, we were with.
And we wanted Michael to have more of the floor because he was the guest.
Mm-hmm.
But we watched No Shark.
We did.
Friend of ours, Cody Clark. He released. Well, he just made a movie. He sent us a private screener, and we haven't had a chance. I wrote a little snippet of it.
I saw that. Yeah.
On Letterboxd. I've been so busy with everything, just life in general.
Yeah.
And we haven't had time to sit down and talk about it. But I figured this would be a great place to kind of highlight No Shark just for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, hopefully, I don't know when it's going to come out. Hopefully soonish.
Yeah.
So people can see it. But letting people know that they should see it when it does come out.
Yeah.
No Shark.
You were an actual review, so.
Well, I'm gonna read the snippet because I don't want to reveal too much.
Yeah.
So it says, in this darkly comedic and a uniquely angsty journey, 12 vignettes chronicle a young woman's inner monologue as she visits various New York City beaches in hopes of fulfilling her dream of being eaten by a shark. First, writing-wise, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
It hooks you right away in terms of, I mean, the reveal of, I want to be eaten by a shark, or whatever, however the line goes in the movie.
Her opening monologue is fantastic. I mean, all the monologues are great.
But the initial, it begins so well, and it's like, okay, you kind of have to keep watching.
Yeah. You got to know where it goes.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have no choice. Cody he's such a great, he has a distinct voice,
mm-hmm.
but he also has the ability of being able to write characters that don't all sound the same.
Yeah.
Like that's a bad thing necessarily, but like Quentin Tarantino characters, they all kind of sound like Quentin Tarantino. They don't really talk like real people. Same thing with Wes Anderson, same thing
mm-hmm.
with Noah Baumbach. They all kind of sound like their director or their writer, more or less. Or Aaron Sorkin's another one. But Cody Clark, he definitely has a style, but I think he has a really strong ability to make each character sound like a real person.
Yeah.
And not him. And I hope maybe that's the opposite effect he's going for, but I think it's a wonderful talent that he has where you buy the lead character as the lead character. And she sounds very different than, I'm forgetting the character name, Ramekin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The character Jamie Saunders plays.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Alex. Shoot, I'm a big Ramekin fan too. This is shameful.
I'm embarrassed to be sitting by you right now.
I'm sorry. The lead in Ramekin does not sound like the lead in No Shark. The two leads in Bed.
Emily
in Ramekin.
In Ramekin.
The two leads in Bed do not sound like the lead in No Shark. Same thing mm-hmm. with the one where they're talking in their heads.
Mute Date.
They don't sound like No Shark character either. I think that's such a great skill, great talent. He's got a great ear for the pacing of monologues and dialogue and ideas flowing where it almost doesn't feel like, dialogue. It feels like a philosopher sitting down and writing down a paper and just, monologuing about, this or that kind of thing. There's a very clear logic and flow to it all where, there is a preamble, there is a thesis statement,
mm-hmm.
there's evidence and, followed by a conclusion where it kind of ties everything idea together. Each kind of monologue or idea kind of feels like that in a way which I just really admire and appreciate. And you would think that a movie where it's just a woman's thoughts and just shots on the beach would be boring, but it's not. It's really engaging.
Yeah. It's very hypnotizing. You kind of just get sucked into it.
It's a trance movie in a way.
Yeah.
Without being psychedelic, but it's kind of, your eyes aren't focused on the visuals. Like, you're not trying to worry about catching anything, finding anything.
It's all in the monologue. It's all in the dialogue.
All the details in the monologue. The visual style is gorgeous, but it's very minimal in terms of just letting the camera sit, letting it linger, you don't really have to worry about too much. You're kind of there on the beach with her. Just kind of, you can look at the background, you can kind of look at the foreground, you can look at the tree, look at the lady over there, you can look at the man over there. Your eyes are allowed to wander as you hear the monologue, which has a really cool effect.
Yeah.
And in a way, it kind of primes you to focus on the dialogue rather than the actual visuals at all. Which again, they are gorgeous. And he shot this with a T2i.
T2i, yeah, an old Canon camera.
Gosh,
those things you can get for like $150 on eBay now. Maybe
oh my
200.
gosh,
those things are
talk about
old.
Talk about knowing how to do the most with your gear.
Yeah.
No Shark is a perfect example of that. And Cody, if we listed the wrong camera, please correct us. But
that's what he shot a lot of his stuff on. So and as
T2i.
far as I know, that's what he's
edited in
continues to
Final
shoot on.
Cut 7, I think, right?
I don't know that one.
I think he's been holding out in Final Cut 7 because No Shark was on it.
Oh,
and
because he was
upgrade,
he was going to upgrade
I
after.
think,
That
but I'm
makes
not
sense.
positive.
I do not recommend switching softwares mid-edit.
No, that's bad juju to do that.
Yeah,
bad
don't do
omens.
it. Don't do it. I switched from PC to Mac during an edit. Oh man, that was a terrifying
Can't do
experience.
that. Cannot do that
Yeah.
whatsoever. But yes, what I've been rambling about No Shark. Anything to add?
I don't have anything major to add. Honestly, I when I walked away from it, I really enjoyed watching it. Firstly, but I feel like I need to watch it a second time. It was just one of those movies where it's like there's so much to unpack in it that I'm always kind of like that, where I kind of get washed over in a movie on my first viewing. I kind of just am present, but also like it's like I'm in a boat without a paddle sometimes.
You're
I feel
not
like
actively thinking.
I'm not always I mean, things will catch me and I'll start focusing on it for a while, but I feel like with a movie like that especially, there's just a lot I feel like that I've missed and that I need to know more about. I mean, Cody's been pretty open about showing reviews from other people and or about clips from friends, and I'm like, oh, I want to find what that person is talking about because I didn't see it, but I want to know more. So that's kind of how I walked away from No Shark, but I was very engaged. Again, Cody's I think one of the most talented like writers of the no budget indie film group, or like
Truly
in our truly independent circle. Well,
To
this is the
use his
circle of
term,
filmmakers that we know.
Yeah.
His dialogue is just very much. It's like you said. It's not Cody's voice in the sense of like these characters don't sound like Cody, but at the same time, like this is a Cody style movie. Like I feel his fingerprints all over it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But
Yeah.
that all to say, I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to watch
Yeah.
it again. And when it's out, please check it out. It's worth
Great.
seeing.
No Shark. Yeah. Great movie. Love the cover too.
Oh man,
See
I
the
mean,
cover?
Cody's
Letterboxd?
Oh yeah, Cody's
Look at that.
major style points. Major style point. I love the other font style that he has, where it's the all red on on the lead. Oh, that one's so cool.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's pretty in terms of my top Cody movies. I think it's got to be a top 3 for me. It's pretty close up there.
I can agree with that.
Like I still love Ramekin and Ramekin 2. That's got to be top. But I mean, I think No Shark might be next.
I think it's got to be No Shark
Maybe
and
Blurry
Ramekin
Finger.
2 for me. Can't place a third one. I really enjoyed Ramekin 2. Not that I didn't like Ramekin 1, but Ramekin 2 made me really enjoy Ramekin 1. It shifted it for me.
I love the iPhone stuff in Blurry Finger.
Blurry Finger. Mm-hmm. It was like an iPhone 8. I remember talking to
It's
Cody
an
about...
older, it's an older one.
I remember him talking on when I did his podcast last year. We chatted about camera stuff for a while.
Yeah. Anyways, No Shark's great. When it comes out, check it out. Very, very well done.
And if you really want to see it now, you might be able to bug him to get a link. He's been handing that out every now and again.
Yeah.
So, try your luck.
Try your luck. Yeah. Good stuff. Outside of No Shark, which I guess was technically 2 weeks ago, what have you been watching in the last week?
Yeah, so I saw 2 movies in the last week. So I went and saw Batman with some friends.
Okay,
Batman.
Another movie I saw last
yeah.
week. We didn't get to talk about, but let's hear it.
All right, yeah. So I've only got to see it once. You've seen it a couple times now.
Saw it twice, yeah.
So and I'm looking forward to getting to see it a second time. But very cool world. I love every time I get to see a new version of Gotham.
Yeah.
I think that's something I always look forward to. Gotham is just it's like, I don't know. It's like one of those I love how it captures this very strange America.
Yeah.
Where it's New York, but it's not. I love the gothic tie-ins that they have
in
of,
the not the
especially
Wayne
in
Manor,
the-
but the
yeah, like
his tower.
it's
with
straight up a vampire film,
It's so cool,
and I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Like it's like stuff that like it's this hyper stimulating place. I love how like the Times Square kind of feels like Times Square, but
screens,
London with all the
screens.
screens. It
Yeah.
kind of goes into almost Blade Runner territory.
yeah,
Yeah, so just the aesthetic of the movie alone is like I could spend forever here just watching shots going through the city streets, all B-roll. I would have been happy. The Batman stuff's incredibly fun. Again, like it's just fun. It's always fun. It's a character that we love a lot. Just Batman and Bruce Wayne. So getting to see this new version of him and see what he's about, like it's very much, just it's been fun getting to know him. And I'm just excited for what's next. But it's cool to see like where they take it, because you can tell each one's trying to do something different, and it's cool to see like it took Christopher Nolan's Batman. Like the third one is when Gotham like becomes totally chaos.
yeah.
And it's
This
cool
one's
to see
chaos.
it
Oh, spoilers.
the bat. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Spoilers.
I mean, things are
That's
chaos.
not. It's kind of vague.
That's pretty
but
vague. Chaos.
We're not gonna. Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
gonna try to spoil it too much, but
Yeah, it's cool to see like, okay, we're getting to this part here. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Or like, oh man, I don't know where they're gonna take it from here. Yeah, and I like Robert Pattinson. He's a great actor. And he's great. I look forward to seeing more. I've seen people talk like, when we're going to see more Bruce Wayne, and I have my theories on why we're not seeing him much as Bruce Wayne yet. Like we're getting a lot of Batman, and I have my ideas on it. But
one of the beautiful things about this is each Batman, all these superhero characters, they are like Shakespeare roles, and every time a new filmmaker touches it, it's a new version of it. Just like, probably 1,000 times a year, there's a new Macbeth or a new Hamlet or whatever. Same exact thing. The only downside to that, I think, is that everyone has their own idea of what a perfect Batman or should be.
Batman is so subjective.
When people I've seen that, like, how come there's no Bruce Wayne? It's like, I'm thinking of it, this is so cool to have a Batman where he is just totally focused on being Batman and no Bruce Wayne persona at all. I really love the differences.
Yeah. And he's consumed by it. I mean, I it's nice seeing, I'm glad we had Ben Affleck as Batman in between. I think it's a really cool stepping stone where we're going to these characters that are more and more engulfed by the Batman.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see this Bruce Wayne over time come out of that, because that's just my theory. Again, I don't want to get too into spoilers, so I won't. Maybe we'll talk about this off recording later. But
no, it was fun, and as weird as it sounds, it was a 3-hour long movie.
It didn't feel it at all.
Well, apparently he's going to. There's a 4-hour cut that he wants to be released. Apparently,
Please.
That's what I read a snippet. It was a headline of an article.
Oh,
So it might not be true.
don't be clickbaiting me.
But apparently, there's a longer cut that he wants out there, so people can kind of live in that world longer. Which
I want to see Matt Reeves release a statements like, "Yeah, I released the 4-hour cut just to beat Void Man."
that would be the day. That would be. It's a movie that was 3 hours, but I would totally watch more of it. It left me wanting more in a good way.
Yeah.
That made sense.
Yep, same. And all the characters, I mean, all the actors, you could tell were having a great time in this movie.
Yeah.
Everyone was just having a blast.
Yeah.
And then that read, like I could see that everyone was just doing the best that they the best of what they could do, and it read. And I love it.
What was the other movie you saw?
Dracula Untold.
Oh, E-Works.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So for anyone who doesn't know, when Jordan and I were in high school together, we worked at a job at a movie theater where we didn't work for the theater, but we worked at a kiosk within the theater that rented out space there. And they did surveys where they would show unfinished and unreleased movie trailers. And they would get like public audience, like individuals to come in and fill out surveys. We did surveys.
We would go up and grab people and say, "Hey, do you want to do a survey? Yes or no?" And then we'd have them fill out a survey.
Yeah, and it wasn't even it was like on a screen. They'd watch it. They'd hit yes or no questions. We were button pushers. like because the people weren't allowed to touch the screens, so we had to do it for them. It was not a great job, but
we didn't like it.
But I can't tell you how many times I played the Dracula Untold trailer at that job.
Yeah.
So many. I saw that movie's trailer evolve over time.
Yes.
Like, we saw so many iterations of that movie.
It was, I mean, there's a certain shots I can very clearly remember seeing. There's green screen behind him.
Or it's
Luke
just like
Evans
the
or
blobs of models of things, like very unfinished CG.
Because this would be like what they show. I mean, it's before they release the trailer publicly, so all the VFX aren't finished yet. So what they do is they make sure that it's cut how they want it, then they'll finish the VFX.
Yeah.
So these were previews that had some were very done, some were not done. Yeah. So Dracula Untold, we saw the evolution of that movie.
Got that movie's trailer in like probably 4 or 5 times, different variations of it. It would be crazy to see the difference. That was probably the most interesting.
I remember was another one of the Divergent movies.
Yeah, we had Divergent. We had
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Amazing Spider-Man 2. We had what was one of the second How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
We had that one, and I didn't know any of the characters, and I was butchering names during that survey.
Oh my gosh, because when we did this job, we no joke, we had to say the questions verbatim.
It was we hated that word.
We hated that word, and that was just our rule, or else we got in trouble. So there was no joke. There was a question was on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rate yourself? Wait, hold on. It was something to the effect of on a scale of 1 to 10. No. Here's what. How would you rate? How excited are you to see the return of old characters like Hiccup, blah 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 on a scale of 1 to 10? Yeah. And those were all characters' names. And I didn't know,
I don't know who these people are.
What was it? Hiccup, Toothless, blah, and
Stoic, like the dad, and I was like, how do you pronounce this freaking names? Like what? Like,
and then there was another question that was the same thing except with the new characters.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh.
And these were like 20-minute long interviews if you're going fast.
Oh gosh.
Like they took so long to do.
Me.
They were awful. Anyways, I never saw Dracula Untold when it came out. Until 2 nights ago.
How was it?
It was fine. It gets pretty ripped apart like on Rotten Tomatoes reviews and stuff. Like I just look at the percentages. It's like a 25%, just because it was just suggested on my Google Home, like on my streaming. It was like, hey, you want to watch this? And my girlfriend was like, we should watch that one. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm watching it.
So it was an action.
It was an action
kind
movie.
Of movie, right?
Yeah, and honestly, it was one of those ones where it was like, this movie, it's 92 minutes long.
Yeah.
This movie would have benefited so much from 20 more minutes.
Oh, so you wanted more?
I wanted more.
Oh, okay.
They kept trying to. You could tell this was a movie that had a marketing team behind it, and you could tell that all they wanted to do was get to the next action scene.
So you think it probably cut out?
They cut out a lot of character stuff. Like there were scenes that I wanted between the king and his family more. I wanted more scenes between the king and his people more. Because, spoilers, this movie's not 2014, but he turns the last remaining groups of his people, they're being invaded by the Turks. Yeah. His people getting, like, attacked.
Oh, there was some...
And there's probably some stuff. So what are you finding?
There's some reshoots.
Okay,
there's some reshoots that were done.
Yeah.
So because they were going to... Remember the Dark Universe?
Yeah.
They were going to tie into that.
Yeah, because there's an end scene where it's, like, in modern times, and he's still around.
Mina, right? Or something?
Wait, Henny, what? Yeah, he sees his wife, yeah. But there's just like certain scenes that like if I had another scene to like set this up, this beat would hit better. And I could see that either that was there and cut out. Like they were just like mistakes that were like, oh, I can tell there was something that was supposed to be there.
Studio interference.
Yeah. I don't know. And yeah, so not like that would have like made this into like a 10 out of 10, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. I thought there was cool takes. It made me want to watch other Dracula movies. Like it didn't feel like, it made me like honestly just wish that a sequel to this had come out or that they had been allowed
dark universe or whatever.
Or at the very least like that this was a less marketed movie and they let it go a little longer and a little weirder and a little less blockbustery.
Yeah.
Because it's like a B-list. It felt like a B-list blockbuster. Like not like Transformers like polish on it. It felt like just a step below. But they were trying to push it like that. So you could kind of feel that those fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It was fine. I put it, if I was to put it in like a rating term, it'd be like a 50% of like, I did not hate this movie, but I wasn't like over the top. Like a 50% to me is like a C, where it's like, this is just a fun time, but I wasn't like
Kind of more
pulled.
different.
I guess I was indifferent.
Okay.
And again, a lot of that just came from those like things that were missing.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. If you like vampire movies, don't watch it.
Yeah. Have you
totally
seen
fine.
Underworld?
No, I haven't watched the Underworlds
Oh,
yet. I've heard a lot about.
I love
I know a
the
lot about the
Underworld
Underworlds.
movies.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to it.
That's my, gosh, those movies. I would love to make an Underworld movie
Yeah.
one day. I think that'd be really cool to
Interesting.
make one of those. I think Kate Beckinsale has said that she's like kind of done with it, which I get. Like,
Yeah, there's so many.
she's
of those.
almost 50 right now, I think,
Yeah.
or something. She's older, and those stunts are pretty wild. So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's so many Underworld.
you
movies,
got you would like Underworld.
Yeah.
I think there's 5 because there's Underworld 1, Evolution. There's the prequel. Then there were 2. There's like Awakening and Blood Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Right
Yeah,
on.
they're good. I got them all.
So what have you been watching?
So continue with my OMSI marathon of the Studio
right.
Ghibli movies. I saw The Wind Rises.
I still haven't seen that one.
I think that might be Miyazaki's best.
Oh snap! I need to see it then.
And my girlfriend is not over the moon about that movie. Like when she saw it, she's like, "Well, it wasn't as bad as I remember, but it still wasn't my favorite." For me, it's like that's like the best one almost. Like it's so close with Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
For me.
Mononoke is really good.
What I give the edge to Mononoke just because of the imagination behind it all, but The Wind Rises is such a great emotional, like compelling story.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I know he's done like I'm gonna retire, then he doesn't retire. He's done that like 5 times
Yeah.
now, but this really feels like if he was gonna go out like on a movie, this is like the perfect movie to go out on.
Yeah.
I know he's making another one right now, and so fingers crossed it's like just as good,
Even,
if not
yeah.
better, than this one. But The Wind Rises for me, that's like my top 1 or 2. Like it's tied with Mononoke pretty much for me. That one's so good, and that one has a special place in my heart too because over the last year just learned how to do animating. I have an animation playlist that I just put on so I don't have to listen and as I work or whatever.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack for that is the first one, so I've heard that soundtrack over and over again.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear that music, I think of like me animating. So it's just like extra added value for me,
Yeah.
but me alone. So
Yeah. You and Miyazaki, like.
yeah, I'm not as good at all.
Yeah.
But you know, it's fun. I saw Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is good.
I don't know that one.
That one was directed by Isao Takahata, who did Grave of Fireflies.
Oh,
you know
okay.
that one,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I do know that one.
That one's.
Is it on the same level of that?
No. So, Princess Kaguya, that was based off an old Japanese folktale called The Bamboo Cutter or something like that.
Okay.
Which I read that folktale in a PCC class back in the day in mythology.
Oh, really?
So, it kind of sucked that I read it because I kind of knew what was going to happen, but it was very well done. It was really, really good. Different animation style than anything Ghibli's done before, but in a great way. Like, I didn't think I would like it as much as I thought, oh, that doesn't look like it usually does. Okay, maybe I'll like, maybe I won't. But super engaging, really, really well done. Great music in both, because Joe, what's his name? Hisaishi or whoever. He does the music for all the Ghibli movies, and those movies were the same year, Wind Rises and Kaguya, and those are like, again, those are 2 of his best scores of all time. And he did them in the same year. It's like, wow. Wild.
Yeah.
And then I saw Turning Red
Okay, cool.
on Friday, I think,
How was that?
or Saturday. It was good. It was really well done. I'm trying to remember what happened in it. I was kind of storyboarding as I was watching it.
Oh, got it.
So I didn't fully like.
Oh, were you like, did you watch this like at home or?
I watched. Yeah, I don't think it's playing in theaters. I don't
okay.
think, is it?
I don't know.
So bear that in mind. I didn't I was storyboarding as I was watching it.
Got it.
But super duper fun kind of stuff. To me, because everybody's been saying that, like, I couldn't relate to it because it's about this. And it's like, yo, I don't care. Like, I don't. Don't have to relate to every single like. I don't relate to being a wizard, but I like Harry Potter movies just fine. You know what I mean?
I ain't turned into a red panda once in my life. This movie ain't for me. I can't speak to. I haven't seen it at all. I do go brood on top of buildings though in the middle of the night and talk about how these streets need to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
I do that.
No, but that is true. Like I think there was a certain, as much as I don't have to relate. I think that there was a lot of stuff in it that I think would have appealed to like a different audience.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was necessarily in that core demographic, but it was well done. It was really well made.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like
right on.
Yeah, I mean, good message.
Mm-hmm.
Good message. I'll always give a kids movie extra points if it's got a good message for kids, and I think it does.
Nice.
So really well done. Again, it kind of sucks because I'm like, well, I did see it, but I kind of didn't see it because I was animating or storyboarding during it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I need to see it again. I guess that's what I'm struggling to find the words, is because I remember the dialogue really well. The visuals, I kind of would glance up every now and then to watch. And then, little note, but I saw 2 YouTube movies.
Oh yeah, it's right. You did.
From Grannon Films.
Mm-hmm. Those are on my watch list for this week too.
I'm gonna forget the names of them. Let's see, because they got kind of long.
Grannon Films are fairly local to our area. They're up in Yakima, Washington, so right up there with the RC Films guys and Gage Cliff.
Yeah. So the first one I watched was not what we expected, and then not what we ever previously thought we had the capacity for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are the movies, which are kind of like a serialized narrative about this high school drama club during COVID and the kind of hijinks they get into. So what I would recommend doing, they're technically both short films, but they're long short films. But when put together, they're like 67 minutes long. So I would say watch them back to back as kind of like a feature almost. Yeah. Really funny stuff. It's kind of mockumentary, fake, what do you call it? It's fake. It's not found footage, but like the first one is like a fake live streamed event. Mm-hmm. And the second one is more like fake documentary, like The Office kind of thing.
Got it.
We have some friends who pop up in that. We have Nathan Cash in the second one, and then Kyle Roy and Gage Cliff. They pop up. They're in both of them. Pretty funny stuff. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Like, it's fun. Like, whenever I see, I don't know how to describe it. Their channel is this. I don't want to sound condescending whatsoever. Their channel is newer, I should say.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, because we've been doing this for a long time.
I've been doing this since 2013.
2013. How long have they been doing it? Shoot, I just had their channel pulled up.
2011. Just kidding.
Oh geez. Granite Films. They only have 15 videos. That's what I mean. They don't have as many videos. They've been a channel since 2016. So not that much. They're almost as old as us.
Yeah.
But in terms of like they only have 15 videos, which is not a lot. But whenever you see someone, like again, at like kind of
at a place where you were.
At a place where you were, where I can remember when we only had like 15 videos or stuff.
Yeah.
And seeing work made at that stage is really, really exciting. And there's a lot of such great stuff there. And they're honestly way better than we were when we were like, let's just be honest. We were struggling for a long time, and seeing them at that level that early on is just inspiring.
Yeah.
And it's awesome, and it's really cool to see. And I cannot wait to see what they're doing when they make like 100 videos or 100 movies or whatever the amount is. They got some cool music videos on their channel too.
Yeah. They got a good variety of stuff.
Good variety of stuff. Check them out, Grandin Films. That I think more than anything, watching those just made me want to be in one of their movies. I'm like, this looks like really fun. I want to be a part of this. Maybe we can beg them for like a Wild Boys crossover. Or like
that'd be fun.
Or like I don't know, break for a role or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Granite Films, check them out. Really fun stuff. They're definitely, they only have 200 and something subscribers. So if you want to invest, you want to be in on the ground level, you want to be a fan that they remember, you subscribe now because they're gonna make it. They're gonna go big.
Yeah.
It's gonna be exciting when they do.
Mm-hmm.
Fun stuff. I think that's probably the longest we've ever talked about. What are you watching?
I know that really is. We're hitting it. This is a long episode of a podcast.
Oh yeah.
Where and you started that late.
Yeah, this is 6 minutes behind.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to put like Batman and No Shark in the title thumbnail.
I know, for real.
Just so people know.
We do it. We talk about it.
Yeah, we're getting there. What are you working on? That's the last segment of our show. What have you been working on? So in the last week, creatively, what's been going on?
Yeah, I did some storyboarding for a short film in the last couple of days, and then also just been grinding away. I have some stuff that I want to throw into the pot for the bell rings.
Ooh.
Something that I
additional photography?
No, not additional photography.
Editing wise.
Okay. There is some light ADRing I need to do actually, but that's child's play. That's little stuff. It's like in one scene.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there's just like something that's been kind of, I've gone back and forth on. We've discussed it in the past, just you and me. And I'm like, I was kind of always like, nah, I don't think I'm going to do that. And it's been several months since I think we've talked about it. But now I'm like, but what if?
What if?
It ain't too late in the game.
Marvel's What If.
Yeah. Doom's What If.
Doom production What If, yeah.
So
it's exciting.
I'll hold off on what that is from the public. Again, because it might not happen.
But it might happen.
But it might happen. And fans will just have to wait and see the final product. Yeah. That's all.
Cool.
So I've just been working hard on that and just kind of trying to finish away some projects right now. Just trying to get some things off my plate, clear some space up, clear some time up. So yeah, that's all that's going on here. What about you?
I've been storyboarding.
Yeah.
I'm going to lift your computer here. Let's see what
the big book.
What scene I'm at. Oh.
I like how you have your post-it notes of raccoons.
Oh, don't call me out like that on our podcast. Let's see. I'm at scene. Where am I at? 346 out of 383.
Dang, you're cruising.
I'm almost there. So I'm hopefully going to finish that this week. Then... but
ahead of schedule.
Ahead of schedule. I'll get more involved. I think... I'll get more hands-on with the pre-production after that.
Yeah.
There's some other little projects we have going on.
What did you buy this week? That would be kind of an exciting thing for fans to know about.
Yes. For this feature film that I'm storyboarding, I bought a camera.
Yeah, you did.
The Canon EOS R.
Same thing I have.
I got a cool macro lens that came with it.
You bought it used, so it was it was nice. Buying used gear is the best.
Oh, it was only $1,200 too.
Yeah, you got a better.
That's a great deal for this camera.
I bought my EOS R used, man.
15, 16?
Well, I bought it with a really nice lens, so it was like 23.
Oh, okay.
But the lens was worth it.
Yeah.
Because the lens
lenses will...
That lens new would be the cost of how much you paid for the body of your camera. So it was like a good deal.
Good deal, yeah. But it's been fun. And I bought it because, it was time for an upgrade for me. But also, there were scenes in this movie that I know that will be easier just for me and the actors to go out and shoot by ourselves, rather than me having to go pick up Ethan's camera, worrying about if you're using the camera that week or whatever, having to give it back to you. I know it'd be easier just for me to have my own camera, grab it, go out, shoot it for a little bit, and come back. That was kind of something that, I just wanted to avoid, all that. So I was like, you know what? It'll be nice to have my own camera. It'll be a good quality camera. And when we definitely are shooting together, it's a 2-camera setup, baby.
Yeah.
So shooting will go a lot faster. So
things are getting fun here.
Things are getting fun. And because the camera's so cheap, this is kind of a side note, I might be able to upgrade my audio equipment as well, which is kind of exciting because it was only $1,200, and I might be able to have some extra money to buy another audio recorder.
That was a very good deal you found.
Yeah.
Or I found.
Yeah. Yeah, you found let's
be real, that's a good deal.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
I'm glad you got that one. I was like, there's no way this is going to stay up online long.
No, because I right after you messaged me, I messaged the woman
I was about to message her and be like, hey, can you hold this for my friend? But I didn't have to.
Yeah. No, good stuff.
Yeah, right on. Well, we probably should end it there. because this is a long one. This is by far the longest podcast we've done. So thank you so much for listening to the Doom Productions podcast. We hope that you enjoyed this discussion and all the different ways it bounced around. So if you want to hear more from us, subscribe to our YouTube channel where we put out videos every week, and we also have loads of feature films. You can also listen to this podcast on Spotify if that's more your favorite podcast listening place. And if you're on Spotify, come over to YouTube. We make a whole bunch of stuff over there as well. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Look forward to seeing you next Friday for the next episode of the podcast. And until then, have a great one.